Tim Walz probably is a really nice guy. Because when I talk to people from the great state of Minnesota, they say that. When I see from him, nice guy. But sometimes nice and what's needed. Sometimes nice and what's needed. Because, when we see, obviously, you're going to see a lot of my leftist friends point to this and say, you see what I'm talking about? Then you're going to even see liberal people who think there should be more of a fight and go, oh, my God, this is not what we need, right? When Tim Walz posts this public letter saying he's making a direct appeal to the president. Let's turn the temperature down, blah, blah, blah. You can read the rest. And when your state feels like it's under attack, right? I just want to point out, even if in a normal world, what Tim Walz is doing here would technically be the responsible thing, you have to know your enemy. You have to know your enemy, right? So a direct appeal to the president, that president is Donald Trump. You got to know how to deal with bullies. I think of, you got to know how to deal with people that are pretty much narcissistic, right? You got to know how to deal with them. It's two ways. It's either one, you can appeal to their narcissistic sort of behaviors and, kind of like rub their shoulders, but in a confident way. And the only time you usually probably can do that is if they have a great deal of respect for you. I see this with Mamdani, because I think the president is a New Yorker and he sees the kind of like the popularist sort of energy around Mamdani, around Zoran. So he kind of like, he wants to vamp off of that energy, right? Even though they're not the same. But when it comes to being, I guess, populist, you can call it two sides of the same coin. Or the other side of that is they just pretty much don't like you. They don't like what you got going on. They see you as an opportunity to bully you. And sometimes you got to punch the bully in the mouth. And that's that. But there's two things I'm going to point out here is, again, know your enemy and know his cult, right? Like, so this was the two responses I want to use as an example. It was like, God, Tim Walz, like small sample size, but not effective, right? Number one, Immigration's Customs Enforcement official X page or Twitter page responded, right? So I'm going to take this kind of like the voice of the government. What do they do here? They just deflect back because that's what Trump does. That's what his people do. Obviously, he does it better than them, which is the buck stops with you, governor. Tone down the hostile, inflammatory, anti-ICE rhetoric. I'm not going to deep this too much. You're not the first, and I'm not saying this from I'm pro-immigration when it's just when it's not Trump. But what I do want to point out is, hey, he ain't the first person to do immigration enforcement. He ain't the first person to deport people. And the nature that it's being done speaks more towards, hey, you're trying to lay the groundwork here for ICE, being your own personal kind of secret police. On top of going through the deportation process and rounding up people process in an inhumane way and, creating a lot of chaos and noise. And also just simply because, it looks like you're prioritizing the criminals first because that number was really small, but you used it to rile up your base, right? So that's that. They always going to pass the buck. That's what they do. Then I'm going to point out to their general audience, right? And this is just misunderstanding. Tim Walz, you're misunderstanding people. You look at this, it might even be a bot, but look at the first line. Leftists always do this. And this is my thing with Democrats. When you try to like appease, and I'm talking about like, centrist Democrats. I'm not talking about Democratic socialists. No. I'm talking about the goddamn face of the party type of people, right? Like the governors, the Nancy Pelosi types, right? Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer. Like, you got to understand, these people already see you as leftists. And if you ask, this is the most insulting thing to a leftist right now. I'm in some of these circles. Calling Tim Walz not a leftist. Right? But when you try to appease to the people, you try to acquiesce to them and go, maybe we should tone down the temperature. They see you as that dangerous, sort of leftist communist that you also want to, separate yourself from. So maybe it's worth the fight because you doing this is not going to bring stuff down. Listen, F that fat ass, put him in handcuffs. That's how they call talks, right? That's how they talk. So yeah, I know Tim Walz has decided he's not going to be up for re-election, but I think that's probably also what makes it worse for a lot of people. Is like, yo, dog, you don't even really got much to lose, right? What do you think you're going to lose here? Like, you think if you guys finally all in one lockstep just kind of stand up against this guy and be willing to escalate no matter how much he keeps escalating, you think you're just going to ruin this system that you've loved and adored? Listen, when it's all said and done, there might not be a system. Okay, so keep that in mind. This is all due respect, but I can see why people are hot at this. This is ridiculous.